Okay, hi everybody. This is Kimberly from Starfish Designs Embroidery. I am on my second attempt here. So I'm working on the double zipper clutch pouch. This is loosely based on a sewn pouch called the Devon. If you would like a sewn pouch instructions, I'll put a link to that on the description because some people like sewing and that's how I do it. I do sewing projects while I'm in the middle of waiting for embroidery print stitch outs. So I'm going off the PDF here. I'm doing a 6.8 or 6 by 8 clutch, which is big enough for a mobile phone, the larger mobile phones. But I'm looking at my instructions here and I may make some adjustments to this after I stitch this out because the middle panel is a little bit thick and we'll just see it. We'll play it by ear. So by the time you get to this purchasing this pattern, the dimensions may be a little bit different. This is the first time I've stitched out this particular size, so we'll see how it works out. So this is my cast of characters here. I have some double stick permanent tape. This is 3M. This does not seem to gum up my needles. Your mileage may vary. If you're worried about it, you can use some rubbing alcohol pads or something to clean your needles off. I found these big packages on eBay really cheap. I have some long tweezers, or you can use a bamboo or stiletto. This is important at one step of the process. I have scissors down here, my pink tape. Y'all know I love that stuff. I have my pen from my Embroidery. I have a pressing item. I have my prepared D-ring strap. I am deviating from the instructions slightly. I already have 3 placement straps on these pouches, depending on if you want to wear it as crossbody or as just carrying it with a wristlet. But I think this one, because of the size of it, also does well to putting the loop in the middle and then making a lanyard wristlet strap to carry it on your wrist. So I'm going to deviate from the instructions a little bit and I'll tell you about that. This is the focus fabric. You need a focus panel. That's what sets it apart, what makes it cute. I'm using this Buckeye one. I already had it interfaced, so here you can use vinyl if you like, that's fine. But you do need to use interfacing on the quilting cotton. You can actually use SF101 and even Deco Bond to make it even firmer. I'm not, in this case it's a small pouch. You need the 2 pieces for the small zipper pocket that's in the front. You need the lining. These are not interfaced. Interface it if you want, but I don't think it's needed. This is actually really good quality cotton. I starched this, but it's for the lining, so it's not really needed. And you'll see this is one long piece, and this is how it's gonna work, guys, trust me. But this is ending up, I've had 7 testers and 5 of them, this was the part where we do the lining is the most confusing. This is going to be the middle panel. Isn't this amazing? I just got it today. Oh, amazing. These are the 2 side panels, and this is the back exterior. You also need 2 zippers, and you need them to be at least 2 inches wider because then the stitch out, because we don't want to worry about your machine getting hung up on the hardware. I'm using my multi-needle today, but on the smaller single needle machines, that presser foot is right down on here. We want to make sure this hardware, the metal pieces, are totally out of the way of that. I've already gone ahead and ran the first 2 steps, and I used my Embroidery pen. If you have not bought from them, what are you waiting for? To mark some notes on here. This here I marked is the pocket fold for the zipper pocket. Believe it or not, we are going to turn this bag inside out through that pocket. This is the lining fold. This is going to come important later. I've marked the bottom and the top so I don't get confused. And I've done the same on the back, bottom and top, so I don't get confused. I've gone ahead and attached my zipper. I want to point out to you, not all zippers are the same width. My stitching here is 1 inch in between. These are actually zippers I got from Zip It, and they're slightly less than 1 inch. If I show you a zipper that I got from Wish, let me see if this will work, if you can see it. I think you can. It's actually slightly wider than that, and it fills in the whole space. These are not as good a quality as zippers, which is why I'm not using it, because this bag is going to be really adorable, and I think people are going to want to buy it. So, be mindful and center your zipper, no matter what the size is. And I actually have I covered it up, sorry guys, but the center stitch line, you can center the teeth over that to make it easier. That center stitch line right here actually will come in handy when we go to turn the bag. I use that to help tear that stabilizer from the zipper. It helps really great, and I'll show you that later. So the white tack down, that's not going to show in your bag, so you can use whatever color. Everything is colored for stops in the design. Those are not the colors you want to use. Use whatever color matches your materials. So in this case, I have some dark gray loaded up here, and I will be using that for most of my exterior stitching. Let me get this stuff out of the way. I don't know if you can see, but I've also put my extension table on my machine because there's going to be a few spots where you need to put this on a firm surface so you can do some seam folding and creasing. And you don't want to be holding this in your lap doing it. It needs to be on a firm surface. So either get up and walk to your cutting table, or in this case, because I don't want to be going out of the side all the time, even though I don't know if you guys can see me, I put my table on it. I don't keep it on all the time. I should, but it's awkward to do the oil because of the table. I have my iPad down here with the instructions. So this time I'm actually going to follow along the instructions. I don't normally do that, but this time I'm going to do it because I don't want to miss any steps. So we've already done the zipper tack down. So the next thing we're going to do is start the process to attach our center zipper pocket lining in our exterior. So what we're going to do, always pay attention to what side you're on. We're going to flip our frame over, our hoop over, and we are going to take one of our pocket linings, and I didn't pay attention to which direction this is going. Just a second here. It needs to be, you need to pay very close attention. I'd recommend don't print out this whole PDF. It's huge because I wanted a lot of detailed pictures in here for you. But if you need to, just write down the directions or the dimensions for the pocket you're doing. So 4.5 times 5.75. So width is 4.5, which is this, right? This. So I almost did it wrong. So it's not this way, it's this way. So I'm glad I checked that. So we're going to take and we're going to find, and I apologize, I should have used black bobbin. This is the bottom. This zipper pocket lining is going to be right here on the inside. So we need this to be upside down, but on the bottom. So it's going to be on this pocket right here, right side down, and you're going to center it over that zipper placement line. And you do need to use some tape on this because, especially at the corners, they like to come loose. So on this particular one, I probably can get away with this because I have my table on here. Normally, if I didn't have the table, I would be very mindful to make sure that corners are taped down. And there will be a few steps where I show you, make sure those corners are taped. So I've taped that. And again, so you need to look at it this way. This is the bottom. This is the bottom of the center zipper. The raw edge goes here with the excess at the top, right side down. Okay? I'm going to make sure that that does not come loose when I put it down on the table and put this back into my hoop. But before I do that, we need our focus panel. Now, similarly, if we're looking at this, this is our top. Our focus fabric is going to be like this. So make sure if it's directional that you do this process, turn it this way so that it's going in the right direction. And the same thing, we're going to center it over there. I try to leave a gracious seam allowance because we all have different cutting skills. So I'd rather you waste a tiny bit of material than waste an entire project because you didn't get it cut properly. Okay, and see, already I'm regretting what I told you. It's coming loose when I try to put it on the table. So I'm going to tack those corners down because they're bumping up when I try to put it on the table. And you don't want to be wasting all your time on this. Now this pink sticky tape, I can usually get 3 to 4 uses out of each piece. So you don't need to do too much tape, just some small pieces, but make sure it's down and smooth so it doesn't come loose when you put it down. We don't need to worry about the front because it's not going to get pushed up against anything. Okay, so those pieces are done and they're stitched down. And we are going to run, I'm going to refer to the instructions here. Sorry, the stabilizer is too wide and sometimes it gets hung up on my little holder things. It doesn't want to clouch in there. So we are now going to run, I'm following the instructions. We're going to run step 3, and that's what my machine says we're on to. And in this case, I'm just going to use white because it's going to get folded over and we're not going to really see that. And I have big spools of black and white. It's much cheaper than using all your colored thread. But if you're using a single needle machine, pick one color and stick with it. Actually, I said I was picking white and I ended up pushing pink. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. And on my multi-needle, I'm going to press reserve stop at every step because I don't want the machine going off on its own. Okay, so now remove this tape. And this piece is going to get buried inside, so if you don't get it all, that's fine. We're going to turn this over and remove the tape on the back. Save these little pieces for the corner tie down. And we're going to fold the lining down, and we're going to fold the hem or the seam allowance for the lining under. So I'm going to show you that. And I'm going to stand up, so if you can see my big old body in the process, I apologize. I need a taller stool. Okay, so we've done our little tack down. So we're going to, in this case, you can finger crease it because it's cotton. So we're going to go ahead and pull it taut and finger crease it with your thumbnail or whatever. Okay, now we have our, and I marked it on the front. You really should mark it on the back. I don't know what I was thinking of. Where's my My Punk pen? So this is our pocket fold. And this is our lining fold. So mark it on the back. Okay, so I'm going to take this down and I'm going to bring it down here so it meets that placement line, and I'm going to fold it in half and crease it. So make sure this is nice and taut. And I'm going to crease it right sides together because I can't see that line from underneath. Then I'm going to flip it over and turn it back on itself at that crease and recrease it. If you're good enough about just kind of pulling it over and estimating and winging it, do it that way. But for accuracy, I've just been doing it this way. That's how the instructions show you. And this piece should be square. So when you fold the hem down, it should be meeting itself. And it should be meeting that placement line. So you can see that. If you want to, you can trim the seam allowance, because I actually cut my pieces even more generous than the instructions. So I'm going to trim a little bit of that off. It's not important though. It's going to be buried inside. So, okay. Now, tape that down. This is where those corners are really important because they'll come loose. And this piece is not going to move anymore after this. It's staying right here. And believe it or not, you're going to turn this whole bag through this piece. Okay, make sure your orientation is correct for your stitch out. And again, we're going to finger crease our cotton. Use your pressing your boning tool. That's what that officially is called, is a boning tool for your vinyl. Okay, mine is oriented this way, so I'm going to put it back on the machine. Make sure that bottom piece doesn't come loose. And probably would be better to use gray here or red, but I'm using gray because that's what I established as my color. Now this is going to do the top stitching, and that's a bean stitch. And I have it back stitch a little bit to lock those stitches in place. Okay, so that was step 4. So now we're ready to move on to the next step, and that is we're going to go ahead and add the lining, the second piece. Oh, and see, I should have, see, it got caught because I didn't tack it down enough. I'm not worrying about that because it's right on the very edge, but if you had that mess up and it was more than that, I would take it out and back stitch it. Actually, this is enough that I think I'm going to have to back stitch it a little bit because the top stitching is going to come loose. So do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you put those corners down with some tape. Yeah, that's going to show if we don't fix it, so I'm going to have to fix it. And luckily I'm doing cotton here, so I don't have to worry about having holes in my vinyl. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, that's right at the beginning, so I'm going to go ahead and start that step and just back stitch over those a few. You could tear it all out, but it's fine. All right, there you go. I'm going to put my tape in there. Let me fix my boo-boo and we'll go on to the next step. All right, so back, I'm going to go to the beginning. And I'm just going to take a few steps here to lock that in place. Alrighty, now we're ready to move on to the next step. So this is all nice and tacked down. Don't undo this tape to the end. Take our next piece of lining. This time we need the lining to be up here because we're going to open this up and it's going to go inside there. So the lining has to be like this. So again, you're going to put your lining face down, and it's going to stay face down after this. And we'll just lift up this tape that we just used for the corners and use that again. And again, make sure it's centered over. If you need to fold it in half and measure, that's fine, but I can just eyeball it. Make sure it's centered. And the pieces you cut in the same size, so you should actually just be able to lay it on here. So you want it to come all the way up here to the top placement stitch, not the tack down stitch, the top placement stitch. Okay, and we're going to tape down those corners. And now we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. We're going to make our seam allowance. So this case, we're folding, it's already right side down, so we're folding wrong side to wrong side, so it's easy to line that up to that fold. So you're going to fold it to the original one, pull this tape off and replace it. And make sure it's about right and even. This one, the seam is just about okay, so I don't need to worry about it. And I'm going to put another piece of tape right there just to make sure that that doesn't get jagged on the bed of the sewing machine here. And you can take that off later. Actually, I'm going to put it like this because I remember stitching it, it comes loose that way. Okay, so you can see, here's our pocket fold. I made the seam allowance. You can trim it if you need to. On the next step, we're going to baste the zipper, and it's going to attach it right here, but this is going to stay here from the rest of the step. There we go. I'm going to turn it back around, and before I run the next step, I need to move the zipper, and the instructions will tell you that, so I've already stitched that. So let me make sure I'm telling you the truth. So, yep, move the center zipper pocket to the middle. And if you're using a single needle machine, be careful of when you're going, you might have to move this zipper pull back and forth as you're stitching it to make sure it doesn't get hung up on your machine. Okay. Oh, I almost did it backwards. That would not have been good. Okay, so this is just going to do a quick little tack down of that zipper, the ends of it. Oh, it's already ready to go. Oh, no, sorry. I'll get good at this one of these days. I forgot we were in the middle of restitching that. And you know what I just did? I just put my zipper closed, so I need to pull those stitches out real quick. You know, when I see some of the YouTubers who've been doing this for a long time, I have such appreciation for them because this is not easy to do this. And I'm recording this so I could edit this out, but I'm not fancy. I don't know how to do that. But it's really kind of, I don't know if you guys follow Crafty Gemini. She's one of the first YouTubers I ever found. I've been following her since she first started a long time ago. And she makes it look so easy now. But I remember her blubs when she first started. I forgot I need some. Remember, we were in the middle of fixing that one, and I just messed it up again. So now I need to go to the next step. So, all right. That's why it wouldn't let me change the color when I went to do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and baste. And on the smaller bags, I actually built in a traveling step so that you can try to bypass that zipper pull. Because when I was testing it on my new PE 770, it was hanging on the presser foot, was hanging there. Oh, don't ever do what I just did. Just put my fingers right down there. And all this is doing is making a little back stitch over the zipper. Okay, this is that travel I was telling you about. It's just to get us down here and away from the zipper pull. It doesn't look like a big deal on my machine because I have this huge clearance. But on the single machines, you don't have that clearance. So again, pay attention if you need to move that zipper pull out of the way. Okay, now that we've gone ahead and backstitched this, you can carefully trim away the excess seam allowance. And I actually can... let me stand up again and show you this. I'm actually going to pull up underneath there and get as much of it as I can out of there. Don't cut into your basting stitch, but get as much as you can out of there. And for sure you want to get this metal pull out of here. Alright. These are the little Westcott scissors. These are my second favorite. I prefer the Kai serrated, as you all know. All right, I'm going to do this placement. Again, keep making sure you check the back and make sure it doesn't come dislodged until the next steps. Tack that down good. Okay, I'm going to put the placement stitch in white so it shows up better. This is the placement for the left panel. And so the zipper's going to get tacked into place 3 more times, so you don't need to worry about it coming loose. The last thing you want is to have gone through all this trouble and have that zipper pull come off. So I don't think there's any such thing as overkill. Okay, so you guys are going to be looking at this upside down right now. And that's okay. And you see how that actually secures our zipper pocket too. So we want to take our vinyl and we're going to line it up with the top of the zipper and that placement line. So there's the top of the zipper and the placement line. Do you need me to turn it over so you can see it this way? Top of the zipper and the placement line. And tape that down. Yeah, this was really stupid of me. I should have turned this configuration the other direction so you guys could see it better. I'll learn one of these days. And you don't really need a lot of tape on these pieces because the vinyl is kind of weighty, so it doesn't really move out of the way too much. But again, better safe than sorry. Put that tape on there. And again, reach under here, make sure nothing has come loose. All right. point, this is going to be the tack down stitch. And this is where your tweezers come in handy. If it looks like it's gonna budge, get your stiletto or something in there. And mine just did, actually. Oh, I'm making tons of mistakes so you guys see this. Look what it did. It went ajar. I didn't have it over there enough. Ah, oy vey. That's okay. Easily remedied. That piece is going to get covered up anyway. It's going to be in the seam allowance, so we don't need to worry about having the holes in our vinyl. Don't cut your lining material, though, when you're trying to fix this. I mean, your focus fabric. So I don't know how I did that. Maybe my mistake is trying to do this on a Friday afternoon when I shouldn't be. Okay. Do this again. And you know what it could be is this vinyl is, I haven't used it yet, so it's heavier than what I'm used to. Some of the other ones. So actually this is a little bit of a gamble to see if this is going to work right, because I got to loosen it up here too. There's a little bump in it because I haven't used this tool yet. This faux tool. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. If you haven't bought any, buy some. I think it's a limited one. Oh. If it's limited, you need to get it. Okay. Redo. Secured it in place. And got to remember back step. Go back a step on our machine. Oh, shoot. I've already lost my place. Okay. All right. Okay, so at this point we're doing step 7. Try this again. I'm gonna kind of keep an eye on this and make sure it doesn't come loose. That was good tape. Uh-oh. You don't like to hear that. That's a wiper error. Something got stuck in there. And it happens sometimes. So what is hung up here? Something is hung up. It's gonna be a trimming sensor error. I don't have time to fix this right now. Alright. I'm going to just take a quick peek and make sure all my threads look okay up here. Why is it doing this? Okay. Still stuck up there. Don't know if it's gonna. Okay, let's try. Okay, I don't know if I cleared that error, but we'll try. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and untape this. And again, this is all gonna be hidden on the inside. If you don't get every little piece of tape, don't worry about it. But do try to get as much as you can, because you don't want it to disintegrate in there. And here's where your little boning tool will come in handy. It's vinyl and we want to get a good crease on it, so I'm going to use this little boning tool and I'm going to crease it down, and then I'm going to tape it really well so that it does not come loose. And I'm actually going to try and put the tape out of the stitch path. Okay. At this point, the bottom pocket should be secure enough that it's not coming undone, but it doesn't hurt to double check it. That trimming sensor error, you usually get it when we get a buildup of threads underneath the needle plate. but I'm not stopping right now to fix that. So that was step 8, the top stitching. And again, there's a little travel step here to bypass that zipper pull. All those travel steps are outside of the main sewing area. Oh, I forgot to hit reserve stop. Oh, no, that's actually, it's going to do the placement line for the next panel. I don't need to stop it. Okay, so again, we're going to do the same thing, repeat, rinse and repeat. Line up this with the top of the zipper placement line, and with that placement line right there, tape it down, and here the zipper pull is kind of in the middle, so I'm going to pull it over here out of the way. Be mindful of that zipper pull all the time, because if this nail or your presser foot bumps up against that, you're going to have a mess on your hands. I just lost my tape. Did I do it with the tape? Ah, here it is. So move that zipper pull back and forth as you need to keep it out of your stitch path. So for the next 3 steps, it's fine to be over there. Make sure it's lined up here. We don't want to repeat of the last time, so I'm going to put some extra tape in here, so this does not move. There we go. Return it here. Set the color if you're on a multi-needle. If you're not a multi-needle, you should be using the same color. You might want to switch your colors in between the different materials. I didn't get that line down there very well. It's a little off kilter, but that's okay. The top stitching is going to hold it in place. Again, I'm going to get the little boning tool here, and I'm going to crease this down and then tape it so it's held in place. Don't pull it too tautly, because if you do, I did on the first one, and so the top stitching was really close to the edge. If you pull it too tautly, it's going to show your placements or your tack down stitching, and you don't want that. So don't pull this open too much. Can you see what I'm saying here? I don't know if you can see how close the top stitching got here, but you can almost see my tack down stitch because I pulled that too tautly. This should just be comfortably pulled. Again, reach under, make sure your pocket hasn't become ajar. Okay, this is going to top stitch that side panel, and it's going to travel over to the other side. So that's step 8. Oh no, we've gone past that. We're at 9, 10, 11. And the reason why we're going to travel over here is because the next step is going to start up here. And if you're using a single needle machine, again, it can get stuck on that zipper pull. Now, this part is a little tricky. We are going to be attaching this middle panel to the top of this zipper. This is the next step. So what do you think is going to happen? This little zipper pull is in the way. If you have on my machine, it actually probably would float right past this. There's enough clearance, but on most machines, they're not. So you're going to pull it all the way over. I'm looking at it upside down. So whatever orientation you are, you're going to pull it to the right panel, and we're going to tape this piece down. Again, I'm finding this tulle, faux tulle, is a little bit stiff, so I may regret this when I go to turn this bag inside out. So make sure you tape it down really well, and make sure it's centered over, because the side panels I cut too big. Tape it down. It doesn't matter if the tape gets sewn through. Tape it down so it doesn't move out of the way. All right, so that's taped down. It's not going to move, and we're going to start the next step, and we are going to stop the machine halfway through, and we're going to move that zipper pull to the other side. If we do not do that, your machine is going to hit that zipper pull, and you're going to be screaming because you potentially could break a needle and or put your machine out of timing. So wait till it gets halfway across. Press stop. You don't need to take it off the frame. And there's a picture of this in here. Reach under here, pull the zipper all the way over to the other side. Even on both of my machines, there's enough clearance to do this. On my Janome 350E and on my PE 670. If you need to cut the thread and take it off to do that, that's fine. There's going to be a top stitching that goes over this, so it's fine. Or you can manually back up a stitch if you need to. But you should have enough clearance to reach under there and pull that zipper out. And again, depending on your machine, make sure the back is okay. Depending on your machine, you may need to do that again on the next step. So I'm going to show you how to do that on the next step as well. Take all this extra tape off. Get your boning tool out. Fold this panel back. And again, this is stiff. Fold that with your boning tool. Don't pull it too tautly. We don't want those placement tack down stitches to show. And I actually did this pretty good. It looks like the zipper's lining up really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to pull this, tape this down really good right here so it doesn't come loose. You might want to put a few pieces over here in these corners. Right there. And again, we're going to start over here. So we need to move this zipper pull over here out of the way. And you're going to stop halfway through and move that zipper pull to the other side. Hanging threads. If you've watched my other videos, you know it's my big pet peeve. Okay, so halfway through, stop, pull that needle pull over, and return. Oh, this stuff is gorgeous, y'all. Gorgeous. It's so gorgeous, I know I will be placing another order on Tuesday. All right. So we've come to the next step. Now let's see how we are now. Look how pretty that is. I betcha this is going to sell. Oh, the pocket, the credit card pocket's going to go here. Should be deep enough. See, it's going to be a little thick up here, and my concern is if I make this too thin up here to make this pocket longer, you won't really be able to get your hand in there. So there is a method to my madness of not having this be so deep, because it's not wide enough for your hand to get in there really deeply. So let me return to my instructions to make sure I follow along with you. So we've done step 12 and we've done step 13. Okay. And then you want to leave this zipper pull about 3/4 of the way over. And again, if you're on a single needle, cover that up with some tape so it doesn't come loose. Okay, now the next steps, these are the trickiest steps of the whole bag, is when we're attaching the lining. So we want to, sorry, I have something in my eye. We want to start on the back, and you can take off this tape now because this is all stitched down, so we don't need to worry about this coming loose anymore. Take as much of it off as you can. And I have to say, I know there's no such thing as uniqueness out there, and I'm not about to patent a design, but I am not aware of another digitizer who makes bags that turn like this. So this is not going to be a public video. This video is actually only going to be released to those who buy the design. So please don't share the URL with anybody unless they've bought the design, because I've worked really hard on this design and I don't want somebody to come in and steal my tricks. It'll happen eventually. I can't prevent them from buying it and figuring it out that way, but for the time being, I just want to kind of keep it private. Anyway, so here's the back. So because I was stupid and forgot to put the black bobbin in, let me draw a line here. This is the bottom zipper, this is the top zipper. Again, we're always looking at the actual original placement lines, not the tack down lines. We are going to take, and I'm going to follow along with the instructions to make sure that I'm reading it the way that it's saying. So we're going to align it to the bottom of the top zipper on the bottom of the hoop, right side, pretty side, down. And y'all who refer to that as pretty side, you can thank Crafty Gemini for that. Vanessa, I can tell you, I'm 51 and I've been watching sewing for a long time. Nancy, everybody, nobody ever referred to it as pretty side until Vanessa came along. So she gets credit for that. I've watched them all. Nobody ever referred to it as pretty side until Vanessa came along. Always called the right and the wrong side. So we're going to put the right side facing down, and then we're going to tape it in place. And you're going to have a lot of extra material to deal with depending on how this flows off of your hoop. So pin it if you need to. So again, we're at the top. So we want the bottom zipper, bottom placement of the top zipper. This is top zipper, bottom placement. Your raw edge of your lining is going to get placed face down against that, center over that mark, the line, and tape it in place. Again, get those corners, because those corners, you already saw it. I had to back stitch and I had to fix it because I was being arrogant and didn't think those corners would get hung up, and they did. Tape the corner, tape the middle. Now you're wondering, what are we going to do with all of this fabric? Depending on how your machine is, my machine, I can actually just fold it over here and it's going to be fine. I'm going to roll it up loosely and I'm going to pin it out of the way. I'm just going to pin it to itself. Your machine, you might not be able to do this, so just figure out how to get it out of the way. I think this orientation, I believe all of your hoops except Janome will come with the bracket on this side. Janome is going to be on this side, so it's not going to make any difference for your guys' hoops. But actually it is for mine because I just put it over the bracket. That's not going to work. So I'm just showing you to get it out of the way. I'm actually going to, I have it pinned out of the way. I'm going to put my machine on here, my frame on here, and I'm going to make sure that that fabric goes under my bracket. So it's out of the way. It's pinned so it's not loose. It's taped under there really well. And I'm upside down, but I'm going to do the same, repeat on the other side. Okay, so that's the bottom piece. Now, we do not want to stitch through our pretty border at this point. This is just the tack down of that lining. So we want to fold this down and out of the way. And again, tape it so it does not come loose. Just fold it, and this is pretty wieldy, so tape it out of the way. Again, now I have it in the right position. I'm going to make sure that that extra fabric is going underneath my multi-needle arm. So I'm going to look under there and make sure it did not come dislodged. So let me bring this down here so you can see. Okay, see that? It's underneath the multi-needle arm. And on your single needle machines, you probably will not have that issue because you can just flow it over the top of the machine, the frame. Right. So now we're going to run step 14, which is the lining tack down. And as it moves, make sure it didn't come loose. And this is taking much longer to do because I'm having to stop and show you all that. When you're actually doing it yourself, it won't take this long to stitch out. Okay, so we'll take this tape off. I know you all are wondering, how are we going to do this, Kimberly? This lining is going to cover up the pocket that you said we're going to turn it from. Trust me, it's going to work. All right, for right now, we're going to move the lining out of the way on the back because we don't want it to get hung up. So again, I'm going to finger crease, cotton finger crease, and I'm going to tape this up. So on the back, what I like to do is loosely, I don't want this to get hung up down on the bottom, so I'm just going to loosely fold it up so it's past that pocket for right now, and I'm just going to tape it down for the next few steps. That way it's out of the way. This is the most confusing to everybody. Again, turn your frame over. Fold your lining down, finger crease it, fold it up on top of itself so that it's past this, and tape it out of the way. And you can see it's floppy there, so you know I need to put another piece of tape there, else it's going to get dislodged. It's not going to get, this is out of the stitch path at this point, but we want it to be as clean and neat as we can. All right, now that we have that moved out of the way, we want to do our top stitching. This is where we're going to fold this down, and I cut it way too big. Wow, my instructions are really off. I did 3.5. I can totally take an inch off of that. So we're going to fold this down and top stitch it, which is going to top stitch the lining as well. So I'm going to, let me make sure you can see what I'm doing. Yes, you can. Okay, so this is the point where you need to put this on a firm surface. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn this a little bit this way so you can see me a little bit better. I'm going to first loosely fold this under itself and make a crease. Actually, this is creasing really well. So it's just about an 1/8 to a 1/16 inch away from the zipper teeth. And what you can actually do is once you tape it or you think you have it good, try your zipper and make sure it's going to open and close. Mine is good. I got to be careful because I had to cut off my end there. Mine is good. So take your little boning tool and you're going to crease it really well. Don't let it come loose like I just did. Crease it really well. And this is going to help keep it down. Now, I actually am not that far off. I'm about 1/2 inch. That's not too bad. I'm not going to adjust the cutting instructions because you all may need that little bit of fudge room. So, but I'm going to trim it. So I have my crease marked, and it's hard to see on this tool, but I have the crease right there. And now I'm going to take that double side tape, and I'm going to run it across underneath that lining tack down strip. I'll hold it up for you to see in a second. I just need to cut the right dimension. If you don't have double-sided tape, it's not the end of the world. You'll just need to use more tape to hold it down. If you're using cloth, don't even worry about it. You don't need double-sided tape if you're using cloth. The regular tape will hold the cloth down fine. But it's just not enough with the vinyl. So you see I placed it so it's underneath that tack down step because we don't want the adhesive to show. I'm going to use my boning tool and rub that down, and then I'll remove the paper. Now this in itself is not going to be enough to hold that vinyl down. I can tell you right now, this vinyl is wieldy and it's wanting to move already. And you see I've already started to lose my crease. I'm up close, I can actually see it, but you probably can't see it anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and redo my crease and carefully lay that vinyl into that double stick tape. And it's going to help hold this down. Again, take your boning tool and rub it across there. The most important point of this step is to make sure it's down and that it's not interfering with your zipper movement. And I'm going to put some pink tape here for extra assurance. And this is a step where having your stiletto is really helpful. Okay, there we go. So it's all ready to go. So I'm going to put it back on here, and I'm going to get my stiletto, and we're going to make sure that our lining is still folded up underneath. We don't want that lining to come ajar. And where's my tweezers at? Here's my long tweezers. And I'm going to start the top stitch. So we are at, let me make sure I'm going in the right direction here. 15. I'm going to slow my machine down to the slowest 600. And we're at 15, and we're going to watch it and make sure it doesn't shift as we go along. Slow your machine down to the slowest speed at this step. Again, if you're using cotton, it's not a problem. But if you're using vinyl, it could come loose. And we don't want that to happen. So you see I'm holding, I actually don't need to, the double stick tape is holding it, but I'm just keeping an eye on and make sure it's not coming loose. Okay, we're getting close to the home stretch now. Now we're getting to the fun part. I'm removing this tape. Oh, perfect. I think it all came out. Oh, I got a little bit right there. I'll come back at that later with the tweezers. Okay, you see that now? How clean that is? And it's not going to interfere with your zipper pull. This time I actually did it even. My last one I got it off kilter a little bit. Okay, I'm going to skip the next two steps because they're the basting step, or I'm sorry, the strap steps. But I am going to go ahead and so if you do the side strap connector, you're going to run 16, and that's going to be, I'll just run it and show it to you, and I'm not going to tack it down. Again, make sure your lining is out of the way. Okay. I'm going to put this in a color that stands out more so you can see it. So I'm skipping this step because I'm going to put the ring at the top. Okay, so if you were doing the side D-ring, right here's your D-ring placement. I made mine 3 inches by 4 inches. And let me just show you real quick if you don't know how to make a D-ring strap. This is not the correct dimensions, but I'm going to show you real quick. Okay, so what you do is you fold it in half, wrong side together, open that up, and fold the inside, each side into that middle crease that you just made, and then fold it in half again. That's all you do for a D-ring strap. I did mine 3 inches wide because I have 3/4 inch D-rings. So I would not recommend anything larger for these bags. You could probably get away with a smaller one. Then you're going to center it so that about 1/4 inch hangs over there. Now, use your discretion here. If your machine, the last final stitching is going to come very close to where that is. If you're using a multi-needle and you know your presser foot can get away with going this close, go ahead and do that. The closer it looks better, the shorter this strap is. But if you need this much clearance for your presser foot, then you need to keep your D-ring this far away from that. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to skip the next steps because I'm doing the hack that I told you about. This is not in the instructions, but I may add it to the instructions. I haven't finalized the PDF. I have my original placement line still here. I'm going to find the middle of that. So here's my ruler. I could have got a smaller ruler, guys, but hey, whatever. So 1, and it's 6 inches. So I'm going to make a mark at 3 inches. Okay. And I'm going to, because we're getting ready to add our exterior here, I'm going to extend that line out. I'm going to center my D-ring connector strap over that line. And this is going to get caught into the final assembly. Okay, so make sure it's over that, centered over that. Get some tape and tape that sucker down good. And then I'm also going to tape the D-ring itself down so it does not come loose while I'm stitching, because there's nothing worse than it coming loose while you're stitching. And again, I've lost my tape. How do I keep losing it? Oh, you know, it's getting smaller and it's harder to see when it's small. I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired. It's Friday. It's been a very long 2 weeks for me. My day job has been really killing me. Okay, so I've extended that approximately 1/2 inch over the zipper because the final stitching is going to be like right here. So I want that clearance. Okay, so we're skipping 17, 18 because that's 19 because that's for the D-ring connectors. Okay, so now here we go to the part that gets folks confused. We're going to, let me make sure I'm doing this right. We're going to put the exterior face down here, but we need it to be, yes, this is right. So pretty side to pretty side. The top is going to be aligned. The top is going to be aligned with the top of the zipper. And tape it in place. Again, we still have our lining out of the way on the bottom. Do not move that lining yet. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Tape. And we're going to run the next step. Which is 20. So I need to skip these other steps. So what's going to happen is that D-ring connector is going to get caught here. I couldn't put another placement. We already had so many placement steps in here. So, all right. Again, if you need to use your stiletto to help hold that vinyl in place, go ahead and do that. It's heavy enough that I don't need to do that. Okay, now we're getting to the really tricky part. The next step is going to sew down, top stitch your exterior. So you can see now where my little D-ring is going to be caught in there. And the lining. So what we want to do now is turn over our lining. And we have our bottom lining fold marked right here. We want to unfold this and create a fold with the fabric right sides together, pretty sides together, right at that fold. And finger crease that fold. Okay. Make sure this is even on both sides so you know it's even. Again, there's a fold. We want this fold to meet this fold right here. Tape that in place. We're going to move this one more time, but we need to make sure we have enough lining up here. Now we're going to come up here and fold this so it meets that original top zipper pull. And again, we're going to fold down and create a crease right at that top zipper pull. And I cut my lining long. Like I said, I made these a little generous, but I actually did cut this even longer. So go ahead and trim that seam allowance to a reasonable seam allowance. I was trying to be fast, and so and your long scissors work much better than these little ones for this. Okay, we are going to come to the back again on the next step. But for right now, so that we know we have enough material, we have our bottom folded there, we have our top folded here, and what are we going to do? We're going to tape the corners. You don't need to worry about these corners right now. We're not going to be stitching there. We're going to tape these corners down. Okay, here we go. So, fold, fold, bottom fold line, top zipper line. Tape, tape, tape. Now return over to this side on your solid surface again with your boning tool. We're going to fold this down. You can trim this D-ring if you want, but it's actually better to leave it in there. This is actually going to become part of the back. I'm going to trim it just a tiny bit. I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch over that. Okay, boning tool, fold back, not too taut, just enough so it's not impeding with the zipper crease on a solid surface. You do not want your hoop to come loose at this point in the game. You are almost done. All right, make sure it's even all around. Tape, tape, tape. Okay, I'm going to show you this one more time before we move on. I have now back of the hoop, bottom of the lining fold is folded in half to meet at that bottom lining fold mark. Top is folded down to meet at the top of the original placement. This is your lining. This is the pouch that you're... Oh, I can't show you. The phone's going to fit in there because I'm using the phone. Front. This is taped down and creased down with your boning tool. Return it to your machine. Make sure that that bottom does not come loose. I'm going to look underneath here. It is good. All right. Again, see this tape is coming out, so I'm going to use my stiletto. All right, so now we are going to run step 21, and we are almost done. All right, and again, I still have my machine slowed down. There's no need to speed up at this point of the game. keep your fingers away from the needle. Better to break a needle and some tweezers or a bamboo stick than your finger. And please, 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 I beg you, if you take a needle to the finger, please don't share the picture on a post on Facebook. Put it in the comments. We don't all have the stomach for that. This next, I want to point out this travel step. I'm going to go ahead and do it and show you how to handle it, but it may actually catch the lining in the back. But again, we need to make sure we don't get hung up on any of these zipper pulls. So that's what it's there for. It's just going to take a couple little steps, but it may get caught up on the lining on the back. And if it does, it's not a big deal. You just pull those stitches out. Because the next step, we are going to return to the lining. Okay, now you have a few selections here. So we're going to take this off. Oh, it didn't catch on mine. That's good. On some of the sizes, it's going to catch. If it does, just pull that stitch out. We want to fold this out of the way. It doesn't have to go far, just a little bit. Because we are now going to sew the exterior bottom together. We don't want the lining to get caught in that, else we won't be able to access this pocket. Okay, again. Bottom, top. I folded up out of the way. We're going to be stitching over this line. If this was down here, it would get caught in the exterior, and we won't be able to access this pocket. Because we folded it and we're using it as a fold, when we're all done, we're actually going to be able to, this is going to be stitched down and we're going to be able to reach in between and turn the bag. Front, stitch down. Oh, look how beautiful that is. Okay, so now here's the options you have. On a single needle machine, I am not going to recommend that you try to go through 2 layers of zipper. It's your choice, your machine. You know how powerful your machine is. We are going to pull our zipper pull to the middle. You can, at this time, try and put a little slice in your stabilizer if you want to make it easier to pull out later. I'm not going to do that because I just pull the thing out, but you can. I'll do it just to show you. So you take your little seam ripper or your scissors and you just reach in there and you just put a little hole. But you have to be careful because your lining is in there, so you don't want to cut that. So that's why I don't do it that way. I'm going to make sure my zipper pull is down and out of the way. Okay, so on a single needle machine, I'm going to recommend that you simply pull this down as tautly as you can to the bottom. So that is what your top will look like. The downside to this is when you're all done, you will see a tiny little bit of that top. It won't be a open-ended zipper, but you're going through a single layer of teeth. Now, for those of us with the multi-needle machine, or if you believe your machine has the power to go through the double-overed zipper, I lost my seam ripper. This is best done with the seam ripper. Where did I do with my seam ripper? Mental note, Kimberly, have all your tools ready. Okay, I'm going to use these little things here. What you can do, and you can go ahead and trim your extra zipper now if you need to, or you can wait. We're going to come over here. Let me lift this up so you see. Again, single needle machine. Instructions are in here that shows you this. Fold this down as taut as you can. Don't pull the seam out, but just tautly as you can and tape it down. Multi-needle or strong machine, we're going to come over here and loosen up the zipper slightly with cutting into the stabilizer. Again, be careful, you have your lining back there. You don't want to cut your lining. So you just need to get a little start in there. All right, can you see that? And then you're going to come along here and you're going to pull across and cut your zipper away from your stabilizer. And once you get a little bit started, it's easy to keep going. And make sure, so if you need to look on the back and make sure you're not hitting your lining, do that. You don't want to cut your lining. So I'm going to cut, and then once you get a little bit going, like I said, it's easier to do with the seam ripper because the seam ripper will just slice along. And you're just going to cut this across and cut your stabilizer free. Darn it all, Kimberly, losing your seam ripper. And you might have to work around. Oh, I still have this tape in place in the back. Forgot to tell you to that. Remove that tape now, because that's going to stop me. I'm not doing a pretty job on here. You guys are going to make sure you get rid of all the tape. This video is already, what are we at, an hour or two? I still have to feed my son. That's good enough. Again, so we're going to go ahead and cut around the stabilizer. I know this is really scary. And if you screw this up, your whole project is done. And then cut down over here. Don't cut your zipper. Just cut down into, pull. See what I just did? I moved that lining out of the way with my finger. Move that out of the way. Second cut right there. And the reason we're doing this is this will allow us to fold the zipper down on top of itself. So we can go ahead and you see, you're going to fold it down. Now what you can try to do on the single needle machine is, instead of folding it on top of itself, fold it so that some of the tape is down but not the full zipper, and that's going to give you it's still going to give you a nice completed look. What I'm going to do is get my tape, and you are going to need some scrap stabilizer at this point as well. And I'm going to fold this down so that that zipper tape is on top of itself. And I'll hold this up and show you again in a second. This is actually harder than my test stitches because I have that D-ring at the top, and I did not have that in my test out. So it's a little bit harder. So tape that down really good. And again, we're going to fold the zipper down on top of itself. And you're going to pull this down and tape it down really good. You see that? Now on the back, we still have this out of the way. I'm going to put some reinforcement straps because I don't want this to come loose. So I'm just going to loosely put some tape here to hold those pieces to the stabilizer. The reason you need some scrap stabilizer underneath here, it's just a little bit loose, is because since this is digitized for both scenarios, the stitches are going to come up to here. If you don't put some scrap stabilizer here, it's going to hang up on your machine. So let me grab a strip of stabilizer. Forgot to grab that. And if you want, you can actually go ahead and tape it in place. You know, I just taped this here. We could have just taped the stabilizer in place instead. And that's going to help support it. And you can actually add some extra stabilizer right here. Stabilizer. Sorry, extra tape. Oh my goodness, I just realized, I hope this video has gone off. Good, we're still going, guys. We are almost there though, I assure you we are almost there. Okay, so I just taped the stabilizer down to reinforce what we just removed from the back. Okay, very important. Make sure you put this back on your machine the right way if you're using a multi-needle. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and put this back on. We're going to make sure our bottom did not come loose and get ajar, because the last thing we want at this point is that lining to be hung up in our final seams. It's not, it's good. Make sure I pull the instructions up and make sure we're at the right step here. All right. And there's very detailed instructions with these two options in the PDF. and we're going to run step 22. Oh, I can see already that this came a little loose, so I'm going to pull it and tape it a little bit better again. You want to make sure it stays taped good. That tape is sticky. The more solid this is, the better the top look is going to look, to make it look like a sewn bag. You know how the end, the hoop bags always have that top on it, and so the more you keep that even, the better it's going to look on the top. All right, now the fun part. And again, there's some travel steps here. Leave your stabilizer here, and now we can take and drop down our lining. We have attached our exterior to itself. It's secure. It's not getting hung up here, and we can tape this down and run the last two steps. Again, make sure those corners are secure because they like to come loose. All right, we're going to leave our stabilizer up there because it's going to go above that on this particular pattern. If you did the single needle version where you're just folding it down, then you won't need to worry about that. All right. So next we're going to run step 23 and step 24. And again, there's a few carry steps in here to make sure you don't get hung up on the hardware. And so I actually have this starting below and going back up. And I'm actually going to pull this down for a minute and show you. You may need to use your stiletto because your presser foot could get stuck on this bump. So you may need to hold this with your stiletto because it's going to start here and go this way. And I'm going to show you that when it moves over to the next side. If I can find my stiletto for my tweezers. I literally just had them, guys. What did I do with them? Okay. Oh, sorry. I hope I didn't give you ring lash. Okay, so I have it come back up here so that it doesn't hang up on anything. And then it's going to come over here, and it's going to start here. Okay. And you're not going to do the last step. Don't forget that. So make sure you're doing reserve stop. And here's what I'm talking about. See how it's going to start right there? And it's going to go back and forward. So in this case, it was okay, but you might have needed to hold that down from your presser foot. Oops, look what it's doing. It's okay. But see, you might have to keep your stiletto here because it was puckering a little. I got it? I'm good? Sorry, hope I didn't give you guys stomach cramps or something looking at that. And that's it. We're done sewing. Skip the next step. It's just there to make sure that your machine doesn't come back to center and get, look how bulky all this is. If your presser foot tries to go over that, it's going to get hung up and you're going to break your machine. Don't try to do that, guys. Don't do more on your machine than it's worthy. I have that 350E I talk about all the time. I abandoned an adorable project that you guys would have loved because it simply could not go through the multiple layers of vinyl I was trying to make it do. I'm not going to release a design that is headed for 5x7 folks if you can't do it on a single needle machine. So I try to be mindful and put travel steps and whatever I can do to help you out. But at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to know the limits of your own equipment and not try to do something it wasn't meant to do. We are done. You can see on the back, it's all snuggled down here and it's open. So let's go ahead and remove all this tape, remove the extra stabilizer. And it's okay that stitches went above that, because it's just, it's secured down here, so it doesn't matter that we have stitches hanging out over that. Okay, and you can just go ahead and tear this out now. Move your frame out of the way. Okay, and you want to be careful when you're trimming that you don't trim into your lining fold. So when you go to trim away your excess material, do the bottom part from the back so that you can make sure that you're not cutting into your fold. And if you've made bags before, you know we try to use a smaller seam allowance. You can reach under here and tear this out. I cannot find my 360, but I really like that Pellon 360 for in the hoop bags if there's any stabilizer going to get stuck in it, because it's softer and so it's not so firm. And so like I can't get all the stabilizer out of the sides. So some of this is going to stay in there and it's going to make the bag a little bit more firm in that area. The Pellon 360 is really nice and soft. It's almost like a cotton. And I'm actually able to get up there, so I'm able to get some of the stabilizer out of here. And hopefully I got all the tape out, because I think, yeah, I did. Remember, you guys saw me, right? I removed all the tape from that zipper pocket. I'm surprised my son's not coming up here yelling at me, Mom, I want to eat. We did save you from the barking dog. We locked her up. See, I got in there, and you can get that extra stabilizer out. And depending on what size bag you're doing, you may be able to get it or not. Okay, tear away this. I normally would get my bigger scissors out, but I don't want to leave you guys, so I'm just going to use these little Westcotts. They're okay. So again, I'm going to be mindful. Here's my seam. You see it coming through. And I want to be mindful not to cut into my fold. So go ahead and cut about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And it's easier to cut from the front, so as soon as you get this part done, so that you're not cutting into your fold, now you can turn it around and cut it from the front. And just trim it. Oops, I got a little too close there. And it's going to be a little bit difficult where you have many layers. So you have the layers of the vinyl and the layers of the zippers. That's why the bigger scissors work better. All right. I hope you all like the video. I'm not the best photographer or cinematographer, or what is the word for this? I'm not the best YouTuber. I don't make amends for that. I'm trying to get better. I'm a big yapper talker. Okay, at the corner here, you want to cut off. You do not want to cut into your stitches, but you want to cut this corner off. And here. Oops, that was funny. Okay. And you could actually trim the zipper tape back before you do this last one, but that doesn't have the same basting stitches because there's not tabs covering it. There will be in the next project I'm doing. I'm going to have tabs. Don't throw this away. That's a nice piece. Somebody will find some reason for it. All right, here's the killer. All right, we're going to turn through this pocket. So carefully start to fold this back and expose that zipper. And it's a little harder because this is a deeper pocket than the other ones I've done. But just carefully fold it, and you're going to get to the point where you can see your zipper. And fold it in here. And once you get to that point where you can see the zipper, you can cut the zipper open. Yeah, I definitely cannot make this pocket any thicker than this because you won't be able to turn it very well either if I make it any deeper than this. So this is already hard enough to turn, but you can get to it. So just keep turning until you get to that zipper. I'm going to have to reach in here with my fingers because I can't get to it. Okay. This is not the most elegant thing to be doing, but you try to get in there and get to that zipper opening. So I might recommend on these longer bags that you actually do cut that zipper stabilizer on the middle pocket inside before you finish the bag. Alright, I'm going to have to just reach in here with my finger and try and get it loose with my finger. Alright, there we go. Normally I would, as the instructions show, I would use the seam ripper and pull that thread. So, and I actually did not move my zipper all the way to the other side. Make sure you move it all the way to the right hand side to make this step easier. The middle zipper, not the top zipper. But it's okay if you just finagle in here. You can get the zipper pulled flat and then it'll push back and open all the way like it just did. So just play with it. Okay, this is going to be a little difficult, guys, because this is long. Okay, so now we have that open. So now you're just going to start working your bag through that. And it's not impossible, but it is it's fiddly. So I usually find that try to pull this top corner through first, one of the top corners, and then that helps pull everything else through. So yeah, definitely can't make that pocket any deeper, else you won't be able to get your hand in there. So just keep working it through, and you want to get through that bag through this pocket. You see, it's coming. And if you shouldn't tear the pocket through because I put really good reinforcement stitches on it, but if you should tear that pocket while you're turning it, it's not the end of the world because you can fix it on your sewing machine or some fabric glue or, you know, whatever you have. Okay, keep working on it. This vinyl is not quite as pliable as the other ones I've sampled, which was the metallic and I need to sit down, guys, sorry. The metallic and the wings. So that's part of the challenge, is this vinyl is not quite as pliable. So just be patient and take your time. If I knew how to do that fast forward stuff on here, I would do it. I don't know how to do it. I keep trying to learn how to do that with my Apple movie thing, and I haven't had a lot of luck. I'm going to go off camera. Well, I'll try and do it. But you see, I'm getting there. And you just keep working it, and you'll get it through. So, I would recommend that you don't do what I did. I used the same material for the lining of the bag and the lining of the zipper pouch. So now I can't tell where I'm at. So just pay attention to this. This is where you're opening. So don't do what I did. That way you can tell where you're at. Okay, I'm getting to it. So, silver tool, not as pliable, but be patient, you'll get it. My hands are getting sore. And once you kind of get a little bit of it pulling through, the rest pulls through really easily. You can see that I'm starting to get to it. You can see my focus fabric. Pull. And I'm not going to show you how to close it because I'm not going to submit you to the horror that is my sewing studio right now to switch over and use the other camera. I mean the other machine. So I'm going to show you the tip though to sew it closed. It's coming, guys. Ooh, it's hard. But you know, good things come to those who are patient and wait. And you can see this is my zipper pocket because you can see that seam that we made in it, the hem. So you know that's where you're at. Okay, keep pulling, Keep working it through. All right. Wow, this one's going to be a labor of love. All right. So I can try to start to get in there now. Turn it back on itself and start to pull it out. If you have some of those forceps or something, that would be really great. Again, I need to sit down and go off the camera because this is much harder than I expected it to be. But you just keep working on it and it'll come out. It is long and wieldy of a bag. I see you're seeing more of it, so it's working its way out. Pull. You get it. Okay, I am going to actually suggest that you are somebody who likes a lot of frustration if you do this size bag. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's awesome. I love it. Oh. All right, I'm getting there. And once you get to a certain point, I'm not there yet, but once you do, it'll actually come out really much easier. So we're almost there. And also what is probably hindering my work here is that I added that D-ring to the top. So there's actually extra bulk from that as well. See, it's coming. My hand is getting sore. And actually, if you can get a hold of that D-ring once you get that tape off, that'll actually help you pull it out because it's secure in there. So I'm going to try and get this tape off, and it'll help pull it out. So for pliability strength, I guess I'm going to have to give the tool for this pattern maybe a 7, because it's definitely not as easy to turn out as the others that I mentioned. But it's going to be worth it when I get it. Look, I'm making progress. So, you know, this might be the time when you put on your favorite TV show and sit down and work that little baby out. Good things come to those who are patient. Oh, I can almost see the D-ring. See, I'm almost there. Once I get to that point and get that thing loose, that'll help me pull it out. So I actually could have removed the tape with the multi-needle because it's it won't get stuck there. So if you guys are using a multi-needle, see, here we go. I got the D-ring and it's helping me pull it out. If you guys are using a multi-needle, go ahead and remove that tape. And it actually pulled the zipper open at the same time. Okay, so there we go. So it's halfway inside out that pocket. And we're just going to keep pushing it through and remove the extra stabilizer at the end. See, that thread would have helped you do that. So just keep pulling and it's going to come through. And it'll all come through there. And then you're going to turn it again through the actual top zipper pocket. What? You said you got to turn it again? Yes, you do. And see, now I'm folding the pocket into the exterior. Can you see that? So the exterior is coming out. And that's how you pull it. So I know you guys don't believe me this is going to work, but it will work. It just takes time and patience. The other bags that are not as tall and narrow are much easier to turn. But this is going to be a cute bag. Oh, I wish I would have brought up the other phone. I'll post a picture of it later in the group. I could have shown you that this should fit the bigger phones. I actually, one of the testers did the 5" by 7". So 5" width by 7". See, I did it. Woo! goodness sakes. All right, and now you're going to reach in there through the pocket to push everything out. If you need to, and if you see what I mean, when you reach in here, you'll be able to feel the opening of the pocket. And scrunch it down if you need to. Scrunch it down if you need to. I watch these Asian ladies, and I don't know if they're from Taiwan or China or wherever, but she uses a stiletto to pull these openings out at the corner from the exterior, and I just sit back and I'm like, what? If I try to do that, I'm gonna tear a hole in my bag. But no, she does. And I usually get my thumb up in there and push it all out and make it nice and pretty. And if you have a bamboo skewer or some other pokey device, that helps a lot. And this vinyl is a little bit bulkier than some, so the corner is a little bit more pokey. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get my corners out as much as I like to. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and fuss with this for right now, just so you can get a general idea, and I'll play with it a little bit more to get those corners out later. But I just want to show you the little trick to close the interior pocket. So again, I'm reaching in here with my fingers through that pocket opening, because it's open, to get all the nooks and crannies pushed out. And again, it just takes patience, you guys. You can do it. I know you can do it. See, I'm already almost done on this side. This is a long and wieldy bag, or why do I keep saying wieldy? A long bag. Well, this one's almost perfect. I can almost live with that corner. Okay, and then the same thing up here. And actually, if you finish opening that zipper, pull this up, that'll actually help you with the top part. Now, because we folded the zipper back, we're going to get, hopefully, a nice clean looking top with our zipper. So go ahead and push out through the interior lining and push those crannies up from there. And then when you do that, it makes it less to push from the pocket, inside pocket. So go ahead and open that up. You can tear off all the stabilizer later. Open it all the way out and push, push, push. And then to get this last corner, that's where the zipper's at, really clean, go back inside that pocket and get inside there and push up that corner. It is not the most difficult thing in the world. It's just tricky because you got to really reach up in there. And I really need a stiletto or something because this is so tall. But you know, you can use both sides. So come back up here and push from up here, and you're going to get it out. All right, I'm going to work this a little bit more off camera because this video is taking so long now, and I want to show you guys. So there we go. There's the zipper at the top. We're going to trim all that stabilizer away, and you're going to press it. A little trick that you can do when you're working with vinyl and you want to get these edges to look nice and pretty is working inside the bag to get them aligned and put these little clamps on it, these little clips, and leave them set for a few hours. It might leave little marks, but they'll eventually dissipate, and that'll help smooth that out. So there we go. So here's my little top string. So I'm going to attach a wristlet strap to that, and I'm going to poke this out more. But I just want to show you how to do the bottom now. So pull the pocket out. This is not going to be easy because this is long. But push this back out through here like this. Yes, I know we just reclosed all this in here and you're like, what? I have to pull this all out? Yeah, you do. You got to close that pocket. Because otherwise somebody's going to put change in there and it's going to get lost. Okay, so work it out. So you get those two hems together. And again, this is much easier on the bags that are wider than they are tall. Much easier. And I would actually recommend that you probably just hand sew this because it's very pokey in there. Okay. So what I want to show you, that's hard to show in the pictures, is when you get this all the way out, you're having to fold it back in on itself. You see that? And you're going to get this pocket. You're going to have to pull this exterior back through it slightly to be able to close the pocket. Work it out. Okay, there we go. Now, for the pocket ends, remember these are attached to each other. So what I recommend you doing, all right, there, it's out enough. What I recommend you doing is make a tiny little pleat right here and then sew them together. You don't need to raw edge it because these are already raw edge. So make a tiny little pleat right here, and then your seam will meet. Put your pin there. Do the same thing over here. Find where it's attached inside there. Right there it is. Make a tiny little pleat and put those seams together. Use a straight pin. See, there was just a tiny little pleat there. And then sew this across. And then tuck it all back in. I'm going to hurry up and sew this across off camera because I don't want to go through this. Oh, no, I'm not. I forgot. I got to work that other corner out. I'm not going to sew it out yet. Anyway, you just sew it across with your hand stitching or your machine. And then push it back through, push it back inside, and you're done with that. All right. See, if we made this pocket any deeper, you wouldn't be able to reach the inside. So, close this. I really wrinkled this baby up, so I would use a pressing cloth and maybe press it. And I'm going to hold it up here. Oh, yes, it's going to fit that phone in there perfect. Look how adorable that is. I'm going to clean this all up, and I'm going to post it in my Facebook group so you guys all have a sneak teaser. I'm not lying to you. Turning that out was difficult. Whoa, baby. That was hard. You need to get all the stabilizer and out of here so your zipper doesn't get stuck. So work out all that stabilizer. And then you might need to just finger press all this down to keep the lining out. But there you go. And I got a little strap here so I can put a wristlet on it and carry my wallet, my phone, whatever, real quick wherever I need to go. How adorable is that? I hope you guys liked this video. Subscribe to my channel. Sometimes I do release other stuff, and you'll know then when I release it. If you haven't visited me on Facebook, it's Starfish Designs Embroidery Group on Facebook. And have a great day, guys.